Are you an athlete that's playing professionally overseas, or a high school or college athlete that's receiving NIL money? Well, I hosted an event today with my good friend Andy Ogide with Edward Jones about how to build wealth with pro and NIL money. So we go through not only how this money works, how it's paid, things to look out for, making sure you're protecting yourself, but also the investment strategies on how you can save on taxes and how just to manage that money well. So what you're about to see is the uncut video from that event. So sorry if you can't hear some of the questions from the crowd, but I felt like the majority of this video would bring value. Without further ado, here's the event video.
Every time I flick the wrist, you can bet that it's a switch. Realtor for hoopers, welcome to the main event. I'ma give the people what they ask for. Whole squad moving like a task force. We move with military precision, accomplishing any mission. In 2020 division, just don't see no competition, don't see no opposition. We on top of the game, we not one and the same. I'm Stephen Curry, the range, I Allen out with the cross. I'm Kobe Bryant, the fade, I'm one that's calling the plays. Now what else more can I say?
So first, thank you for everyone for showing up. Andy and I had this idea a while back, so it's good to actually have it come to fruition, and everyone's here. So just a little bit about kind of my heart behind why I wanted to do this event. I've learned that I would say money is sometimes a risky topic with people, and not a lot of people like to talk openly about it, and especially friends and extended family. It's not like sometimes it's kind of a hush-hush topic. So what that does is that kind of leaves it up to your parents teaching you about money a lot of times. Because if your parents don't know a lot about money or don't know about how a certain system works or whatever, sometimes you're kind of, I'll call flying blind. You don't really know how to do things or whatever. So the premise of this event is not only to share some knowledge that we'll share and all that, but also just to be like open the floor up to talking about it. Like nobody, like Andy and I, there's no part of us that's trying to money grab from you or trying to sign you up for something or whatever. It is just sharing knowledge because it's just something that needs to be out there. And don't get me wrong, if any business comes towards Andy or myself, we're not going to turn it away, but that's not why we're here. We have a heart for this. We have a heart for sharing this knowledge. So kind of an agenda, we're going to go through kind of pro overseas kind of money and how that works and that like side of things. Then I'll go through kind of NIL money and all that. Then Andy, who's a financial advisor at Edward Jones, is going to go through the investment side and how you can build wealth through those kind of through getting that money, whether it's pro or NIL. Got it? Sweet. All right. So the pro side. So I know we've got pro athletes in here, so a lot of you guys already know this, but the money's pretty much tax free, and the teams cover a lot of your expenses, your accommodations, your transportation, your health benefits, and all that. So a lot of that money is for your disposal and how you want to do that. So and how you want to spend that. So obviously a lot of the contracts include bonuses based on, performances through your team or your individual, stats and all that, things like that. Agents typically get about 10%. That's a general number. Sometimes the team will even pay the agent's fee, but word to the wise, if that agent is getting paid by the team, so maybe sometimes that agent's interest is with the team and not necessarily with you. So make sure that you're hiring an agent that has your best interests in mind, not just the team's. Okay. So another good word of that, there's FIBA agents. They have to go through another level of licensing and qualification, and they're managed, where there's a lot of agents out there that it's easy to get a license, but if you're not being managed by a certain kind of association, a lot of shady stuff can happen. So just word to the wise there. You'll usually get paid in US dollars or the US dollar equivalent overseas. So, and you can get paid either monthly. That's the most, that's usually the most likely scenario. You'll get paid monthly, but you also can negotiate a big lump sum sometimes as well. Contracts, I've seen people go overseas for as little as like 10, 15 grand. And I've also seen people get paid millions of dollars overseas. So contracts levels range massively over there. Vary from the contract length can vary from one season to year deals and stuff like that. So if you sign for one season, maybe you're only going to have a 4 or 5 month contract. So just don't. So if you get paid for 4 or 5 months, you got to make that money last for a year. So just be thinking about that. Know what you're going to do in the gaps of times, all that. One thing that Andy and I wanted to make sure that you guys kind of knew about what as far as managing pro and NIL money is there's a foreign earned income exclusion. So if you have to get your visa from your team or to get what's called a bona fide resident status. And basically what that'll do is that'll allows you to exclude up to $126,000-ish from your U.S. federal taxes. So you make anything less than 127, you don't have to claim that income if you're playing overseas. If you have bona fide resident status in that country or in those countries. If you don't, then you have to do what's called physical resident status, and you have to prove that you're a resident of any foreign country for 330 days or more over a 12-month period. And most likely scenario is you're not going to qualify for that.
You don't want to do that. So make sure you get your visas just to protect yourself in case you ever get audited. Get that visa from your team. That's very important because sometimes teams try to withhold it or try to hold it. Like maybe your manager might be like, hey, we'll hold on to it for you so we can do your stuff. Tell them fine, but make sure you get that before you leave. Has anyone gone through the filing taxes or anything like that, or foreign tax exclusion? So you're probably familiar. So Same thing. Make sure you get that. I've done it some years where I didn't have my visa. Obviously, I didn't get audited, but like towards the end of my career, I just wanted to make sure I button that up just in case you start making more money. You want to make sure that you're getting these deductions that you're taken care of. So that's one small point, but really important.
So I guess the last thing, just remember that if you're a pro athlete, you are your own business. So be a professional in your craft and your skills and all of that, but also you need to be investing in yourself and in your business as well. So it's not just about being better on the court or on the field or whatever. It is also being better as a professional off the court because you are running a business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week now. So just be thinking about that. Cool. All right. So on the NIL side, this can be changing, but schools are not paying players directly right now. The Big Ten has just approved it, where they can, through profit sharing, a school can pay an athlete NIL money directly, but most of the time it's businesses that are paying you, and the school provides what's called NIL resources. So they're getting you connected with businesses that can provide you NIL money and all that. Pay structure varies anywhere from lump sums to ongoing payments. What's up, Trevor? What's up, guys? No worries. And then you get a check, you can get cash. There's lots of different ways you can get paid there. With the big consistency that I've seen is companies tend to target athletes that have a larger social media following. I would say a lot of these businesses are paying NIL money because they're not really good necessarily at social media, so they want to get connected to an athlete that is really good, that's connecting to a younger demographic, so on and so forth. Ways to protect yourself. Make sure you understand your contract, how you're getting paid, how often you're getting paid, and all that. There are lots of scams out there. So don't just be excited that someone offered you 100 grand and all that. Make sure that you're having that looked at. Consult with agents, attorneys, even advisors from your school that'll connect you with really good to make sure everything is on the up and up and validate who's giving you that money, all that. Tax implications. So you're getting that money in the good old US of A, which means that income is taxable. And so to give you an idea, so anything that's 10 to 49,000, I think, is taxed at 10 to 12%. Anything that's 49 to 103,000 a year is 22%. Anything that's 104 to 197-ish is 24%. And you are also liable for self-employment taxes because you are your own business now. So, and self-employment taxes are 15%. So, which means you can either be taxed from 25% up to 40% on that money. So, if you get 100 grand, if you don't manage your money well, if you don't like do some of the things that we're going to be talking about, 40 grand of that is gone off the bat. And that's before you pay an agent, if you have one, all that kind of stuff. So just know that that check that you're getting or that contract you're signing, you're not going to get that dollar for dollar. So just know that. So speaking of that, like remember, just like in the pro side, remember that you are your own business. So track your expenses. So just like you can deduct stuff for driving to practice, buying equipment, business related meals. If you want to take your assistant coach out for like lunch, expense that meal out. Like track all those things because that's going to be able to be all these deductions that can reduce your tax liability and things like that. Okay. Last thing. As far as structure, think about setting up an LLC or an S corp, what's called, for your own business. So Trevor Baskin Enterprises or however you want to do it. It does not matter. Doesn't matter what you name it, but this will just allow you can take an income election. So let's say you get 200 grand of an NIL money and that money goes into an LLC. You as the employee of the LLC or the S Corp can say, actually, my salary from the company is going to be 50 grand. I'm an athlete. 50 grand is a pretty good salary for what level I'm at and whatever. So then all those income qualifications I was talking about, that's only 50 grand is only taxed on that. So you're taxed 50 grand on the federal and the self-employment taxes instead of the 200 grand, you're taxed on 50 grand. Does that make sense? Follow everyone? Okay. Then you can take dividends of that other 150 grand used in this scenario from the company. So you can just say, hey, Trevor Gaskin employee is going to receive a $25,000 dividend at the end of this year or whatever from the company. And that's taxed at a different scale, on a lot lesser scale on a business scale than it is than an individual income basis. Along with all those taking deductions and things like that, I know that was a lot of money that I just spewed at you guys, but there's also things like investment accounts, retirement accounts, real estate that can not only reduce your tax liability, but help you build wealth overall. So that's where I'll transition and give the floor to Andy. And just real quick, Andy is not just a friend and not just a random guy that I wanted to partner with. He's also my financial advisor. So no, I'm not just standing up here saying to listen to this guy. He's my financial advisor. He's the guy I've trusted all my money with. So know that it's real. He's got a great heart. He knows what he's doing. So I'll give the floor to Andy.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Before I start, two things. One, don't name your LLC or S Corp Trevor Baskin. Because from a liability standpoint, you don't want to do that. Give it something else. Say Hoops or Trevor CU, whatever you want to call it. You can name it anything but your name, because the whole point of that is to protection from your identity. So let's say if you're let's play you're a college hooper or something, you go to a bar, get into trouble. Now anyone can find. That's what happened to Shiloh Sanders in high school. Same type of thing, right? They find your LLC or money and that's in other accounts, and they have access to that. So if you're going to go that route, one, you get your LLC, make your election. It has to be S corp, so sole proprietorship. There's different options, and I can always help you with any of those things or advise you with someone to talk to that can help you set those things up. But very important for the privacy protection of just your name, your brand, is to stay away from names that can kind of give it away. That makes sense. Before I kind of get into everything, I wanted to ask if anyone had any questions on all the information that we went over. I know it was a lot. We went over the overseas stuff.
And I'm going to email all of that stuff to everyone they registered. So you're going to get a document that has all that information and just a bullet point list of all that. Go for it.
Yeah. Visas, yeah. So Yeah. Why? So the most important thing is you got to get a visa. So when you get there, usually team manager is going to take you to the visa office of whatever country you're in, right? They're going to say, hey, this is our player. They're working here. They can be here. So like if you want to leave the country, you can come back. You just show your visa, right? I don't know if you may not have got one. Depends on how long your contract is, but you got one. So yeah, you want to hold on to that for your taxes. So when you file your taxes, when it goes to foreign tax exclusion, you can tell your CPA, if you do it yourself on TurboTax or wherever, you can go to foreign tax exclusion. You can go to where it says bona fide resident and you click that and it's going to show you and you can put in your visa information in there. Good to go. 126,000 of tax-free money. So that's a huge benefit. Yeah. So if you paid any taxes this year and if you made less than that, then it might be too late to redo it. But for next year, keep that in mind.
So that if you get paid through overseas, you have to be subject to local countries, sorts of income.
So
also taxability goes to the country.
yeah, so it depends on your contract and how much. There's some levels where they won't pay your taxes. You have to pay the, say in Spain, for some certain situations, like if you make a certain amount of money, they're going to pay you a lump sum. You're going to have to pay the Spanish officials for their taxes. But most of the time, I think contracts that are probably less than $500,000 or probably somewhere around there, you're going to have to pay your own taxes, or the team will pay your own taxes. Sorry, but here, the Spanish taxes, yeah, but the team will pay that. So let's say I signed for $100,000. They're going to pay your taxes so that you're getting $100,000 US dollars. Yep, you'll get that. And then so like the team will pay. Your real value of your contract is probably like 150,000 or 160,000 because those taxes are kind of expensive over there. So
So the vast majority of all overseas contracts, the team is accounting for paying for that player's individual taxes in addition to that salary that they offer you.
Yeah, take home.
Yes.
They keep it simple. So in the contract, you'll see whatever you sign for, that's usually what you're going to get. They keep it pretty simple. They take care of all that. And then you just have to do your part. Make sure that you file when you get back to the States, or even if you're still over there, make sure you file and give them that visa and then get that exclusion, because that's huge. Anybody else? Any questions? No? Okay. So Matt, how you doing? Okay. So I just kind of want to talk about other ways to get more tax deductions, to grow your wealth, things of that nature. Obviously, real estate, right? Got a real estate agent right here. Real estate is something that helped me in two ways. One, it forced me to save. It forced me to save. And then once you're able to buy a property, now you're able to use that as if it's going to be an investment property, you can write off the mortgage interest expense, your premiums, your property manager, all those things help give you further deductions. So when I started getting to where I was making more than the taxable income level, the 126,000 or whatever overseas, now I use my real estate in order to give me deduction so I don't have to pay any taxes. So when I was overseas, I never paid any taxes for 12 years in the US. And it is a great advantage to have. So that's one reason why real estate is a huge way to kind of, one, grow wealth. Because obviously you buy those properties in over time, you buy in the right place, you buy at the right price, you use a real estate agent that can help you make sure you're buying a good property, and you're going to be fine in the long term. So great long-term investment. Now for short-term investments, or not short-term, but for immediate tax deductions, there's so many different options. So we talked about making an election with like a LLC and a C Corp, right? So now if you wanted to get a further deduction, we could do a solo 401k where you can put in up to $70,000, where instead of paying the government this money, now you're paying yourself that money for your retirement. So as a hooper or any type of athlete, baseball, football, whatever it may be, you're playing the sport, and unless you're in the NBA or MLB, whatever, you're not going to have a pension. You're not going to have any type of retirement account. So unless you do these type of things, so get yourself a solo 401k. So like by the time you get to 30, 35, 40, and you're retiring, and all your friends have these retirement accounts, and you're just left with whatever you were able to save, that's not the best place you want to be in, right? So if you can help yourself by putting money into like a solo 401k, SEP IRA, Roth IRA, traditional IRA, those are great starting points. Traditional IRA is the easiest. You can set it up anywhere. You can go to Fidelity, you can go to Schwab. They all give you these options, right? And the traditional IRA, you're going to get a tax deduction. $7,000 is the max right now. Usually every year it goes up a little bit. So that's $7,000 you don't have to pay taxes on. That can grow tax deferred. Or you can go the Roth IRA route, where that's after tax money. So if you're overseas and you didn't pay taxes, perfect. Put your after-tax money in there, let that grow tax-free. And the beautiful part about that account is if you ever need that money, the contributions, you can take it out. So let's say I maxed it out for 5 years and got $35,000 in there. I come back home and I want to buy a house. Hey, I got $35,000 of down payment money I could take out of that account if I needed to. If I wasn't doing what I need to do and saving and doing all those other little things, you at least have that. So, and then the rest of the money that's in there, that's capital appreciation, continue to grow tax-free. So I know that's a lot. If anyone had any questions specifically on any of those 2 or 3 points, let me know, and I can go over that a little bit and more in depth, if that makes sense. Everybody good? Awesome.
Another question. In terms of what's the difference between a Roth and just a traditional IRA?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
No, sorry. So like a traditional IRA, pre-tax. That's the easiest way to think about it. Pre-tax, Roth IRA, post-tax, right? So with the traditional IRA, you get a tax deduction this year, right? So let's say I'm at $100,000 and I put $7,000 in there. Now I'm going to be taxed on $93,000. That $7,000 can grow, continue to grow, and you won't pay taxes on it until you're ready to take the money out.
And I know there's limits on Roth IRA with 7,000.
7,000, both of them.
Is there a cap on traditional?
Same, it's the same, 7,000. Yeah, so that's whenever you start getting to the point where, okay, I'm maxing out my Roth, maybe I maxed out my traditional, but instead of maxing out that traditional, it's probably better to go a different route, right? And that's if you want to put more money in, we can go SEP IRA, where you can put 66,000, solo 401k, 70,000, simple IRAs, usually for more for people that have their own business, but you can still do that if you're making an election, and you can use one, and that's 16,000. So you have plenty of options as you grow and continue to grow your career, making more money, to one, pay less in taxes, which I think is the most important, right? No one wants to pay taxes. That's not, in my opinion, that's not a flex. So you're going to avoid the taxable income, right? And you're going to have the capital appreciation where you continue to grow. So when you're done playing, you have the nest egg, right? And then the last thing I want to talk about that's most important to me was paying yourself, like no matter what. You guys are all young. I was young. I wanted to have fun, go out, and I want you to do that. And you should do that, but you got to pay yourself something, right? So whether that's putting $200 in a savings account every month or $200 into your Roth every month, out of every single check, you're going to be so much happier when you're done, right? It sounds simple, but it's really not. More than half of the country don't do that. They don't invest either in their retirement accounts or don't put money away for savings or don't have money in case like an emergency happens. And I don't want that to happen to any athletes. Like I work with a lot of athletes, and I've been fortunate enough to work with some that had advisors or older advisors in the past that helped them give them a start, and some that haven't, and some that are at the later parts of their career and they're just starting now. And it's never too late, but compounding interest is such a powerful force. The earlier you start, the less you have to put in. Like you start in your first 10 years, now all that money that you put in and saved, I mean, yeah, you're probably going to find another job and you can continue to keep doing it, but you're going to have options now. You're going to have options. You don't have to take a job just because you finish playing. Like you can take a job because you want to, right? That's a huge privilege of being an athlete and being able to make this money and having options is the affordability of time, right? Can't get back time. So want to make sure that's very important for all of you. You're all young. Pay yourself something out of every single check. It can be anything. It can be $50. It doesn't matter, but pay yourself something. So hopefully that makes sense. And if you want to talk about options and what you can do for like savings and for accounts and high yield savings, and if you want more information on that, feel free to reach out to me at any time.
So something I just thought of to do on the spot, but I always think about advantages of investments in 4 different buckets. So I analyze what to do with my money based on 4 different things: capital, perseverance, tax implications, cash flow, growth. So simple plug here, because I'm a real estate agent, capital perseverance. So if I'm buying a $500,000 property, I'm going to put 20% down. That's $100K. So my capital is $100K. Now, real estate is usually a really good investment, especially in Colorado, because homes typically appreciate or at least keep their value and all that. So the capital preservation of that investment is pretty good, right? The best one is obviously cash. If you just have the cash in a bank account sitting that there's no risk that all of a sudden that 100K is going to go away, right? Let's say, but if you did like Bitcoin or something like that, there's a risk. There's high risk, high reward side of that. So as far as capital perseverance. Number two, tax liabilities. There are so many tax benefits to real estate. There's tax benefits to investment accounts and things like that. So like, is it a good for me to limit my tax liability, not on my income, but also how my cash flow. So getting into cash flow. So if you let's say you buy an investment property, I'm actually talking to a guy right now. He's going to get 200K of NIL money. So we're talking about, hey, let's buy a property with that NIL money, and let's buy a house where you can not only stay there, but you can rent out the 3 other rooms to your teammates, and they're going to help you pay your mortgage and all of that. And you are going to be making $500, $1,000 a month off of that money. So that's what cash flow is. You're making money monthly on it. Okay. Then growth is also, I would say growth is more of an over the long period of time. So appreciation. So you all think about like homes appreciating 5 to 10% a year, or 15, depending if it's a crazy market and all that. So that $500,000 property may be worth $550,000 a year from now. So you just made 50 grand on buying that property without you actually having to put any money into it, because that money grew for you while it was working, just like compounding interest. That money is growing while it's just sitting there. So just think about, again, capital perseverance, tax liabilities, cash flow, growth. If you can have a good understanding on those 4 things, as far as when you're investing money into something, it'll allow you to make better decisions on, okay, maybe I shouldn't invest in this restaurant, my buddy's restaurant, because that capital perseverance number may be 0 because I don't know if that money's going to be there in 3 years. Do you know what I'm saying? So just be thinking about that stuff, because it'll help you make better decisions on how to invest your money going forward. Cool. Okay.
One small thing I was going to say.
Yeah.
Another easy way to think about it is a short-term account, bucket of money, a mid-term account of money, long-term, right? Long-term is going to be your retirements, Roth IRAs, 401ks, whatever it may be. Mid-term is going to be your investments, right? So like a property, right? Doing something like that. Then your short-term is going to be 3 months to 6 months, depending on how many responsibilities you have. If you have kids, you probably want to have a few months of money saved in cash, right? But when I say cash, I mean like high yield savings. That's one thing I want to make sure that you guys are all doing as you're saving cash. Like, never want to hoard cash, right? Cash, every dollar has to be bringing something back. So make sure you at least have a high yield savings account for like your short-term money that maybe I want to spend this summer. Like everyone, you play hard for the full year. When you're overseas, you want to come home, have fun in the summer, put that money in a high yield savings account. So now that money is growing instead of just sitting there losing money.
Because that money can make 3% a year. I mean, it's something, right? It's better than you just keeping it in your closet, right? So
very important.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, any other? Yeah, go for it. Yeah, you go.
Wherever you want.
You talked about like paying over 126 days.
Yes.
So they don't make over that.
If you do it right, yeah. If you get that visa, you make your elections, you file your taxes. And another thing with filing taxes is very important. If you want to buy a property, for the most part, you're going to need 2 years of tax returns. Unless you talk to a lender, there's a guy like this guy that can get you some type of loan on your assets, right? That's the only way to get around it. But you have to have assets to do that, right? And sometimes those loans are a little bit more expensive sometimes, or yeah. So it's gonna be more expensive. So the easiest way you can do that is file your taxes. Just get you that tax return. Make sure you do that. Stay out of trouble. File your taxes. But yes, anything over that 126,000 would be taxable in America.
I just wanted to add to your example.
Yeah.
Like in the real estate, when you said that buying the house, $500,000 and making that 10%.
Yep.
Which is 50,000. But when you think about it, when you put only 100,000, buy a home, that's return on investment. Return on
Over
investment
50%, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yep.
So it just depends, because you're using somebody else's money to get that asset.
Yep.
So I think that's kind of a lot of people listening. Okay, I put 100, I made it 50. That's a big number. So it's a good option in the real estate.
So I always say there's 5 benefits to owning real estate. There's positive cash flow. There's tax benefits. there's leverage control, there's principal reduction, and then there's depreciation. So cash flow we talked about, tax liabilities we talked about. The leverage control is like a bank is willing to give you 80% of the money to buy this asset, or sometimes even 95% of the money to buy this asset. So which means on that $500,000 house, I can own a $500,000 asset for $100,000 versus like, there's nothing wrong with the stock market. There's nothing like, but like if you buy $100,000 worth of stock, you own $100,000 worth of assets, right? So then principal reduction, if you're renting that property out, your renters are reducing your principal balance. So it's not just how that money grows to 550. So you owed 400,000 on that property after you put that $100,000, right? Every month that $400,000 is decreasing and decreasing and decreasing and decreasing, and they are paying that principal off, not you, right? Then depreciation and in America, if you own an investment property, which means basically you can't be staying in that property for any longer than 3 months. If you are renting that property out for 9 months or longer, then you qualify as an investment property, which means you can take depreciation, which is of that. I'm just gonna make it easy number. So let's say it's a $550,000 property. You depreciate that asset over 27 and a half years. So that's $20,000 a year of a deduction that you have on an annual basis that you can use for that asset. And it doesn't mean you have to make $20,000 on that investment property. Let's say you only make 10 grand on that. You have 10 other $1,000 of deductions to apply to your other income. So there's just a lot of different ways to have your money work for you besides just letting it sit in a check in your like bank account or things like that. Now, like Andy said, it's unrealistic that you guys are gonna everyone's gonna invest all of your money. We want you to have fun with your money. I do. I like it. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Have fun, but you also need to be thinking about what am I going to do post career? How can I make this money work for me long term, not just for while I'm playing? Like, don't piss away your money for your 4, 5, 10-year career if you're really lucky, and then all of a sudden at the end of it, you're like, I'm broke, and I don't have any like maybe marketable skills to actually fall back on because I've been an athlete so long. I don't know what job I'm going to get and all that. Like, have some way that money's going to be growing for you that's going to be long term.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions, anything like that? So, Sean.
I wanted to circle back to the solar 401k.
Mhm.
Because I'm familiar with IRAs, but I didn't know much about that.
Yeah. So solo 401k is something that I usually do for a lot of business owners, just because they get to a point where they start making, their business gets profitable and they're like, oh, I'm paying too much. Yeah. I said what you start making too much money, right? And it's a good thing, right? You start making too much money. And so you don't want to pay the government, $100,000 in taxes, right? So why not put $70,000 in there and pay yourself for retirement? Lower your taxable income and do all those things. So that's what the solo 401k does. It's the actual amount or limit that you can put in is 26,000. But the way we can do it, we set it up to where you can put in extra money. So profit sharing, you can really pay yourself some of the dividends from the money you made. And that gets you up to about 70,000. And it goes up usually every year. It was 69 last year and 68 before that. So it continues to go up. And so that's a huge way to save yourself some money. And if you're incorporated, it's easy. You can set one up and pay yourself that money, and you can invest it, and that money is always going to be yours. And now, obviously, that's pre-tax money. The only thing that's after-tax money is that Roth. And that's why I like it, because it's flexible and whatnot, but it's capped at 7,000 and for a reason. Was that? Yeah. But we can do with the solo 401k, we can make a Roth portion of it. So you can actually put in that 20 something thousand and then make that all Roth if you want to. And then obviously when you get done playing, we can take that money out, throw that in a Roth IRA, same thing. Now you can take out your contributions. So there's ways around it. It doesn't all have to be pre-tax. The pre-tax just helps people with tax problems. When you start making too much money and you want that deduction, but you can range it how you want. You can make that 26,000 Roth, and then the rest of it can all be pre-tax. And
so for instance, like let's say in your scenario, you're making 200K, right? You can only, through the earned income exclusion, you can only do 126, right? But if you have a solo 140K, you can put another 26, 50, 70K into this and not have to pay taxes on all of that, right? Instead of only having to pay taxes on the 126, right?
Yep.
So that's why you have to like have multiple ways, like, hey, if I do start making more money, what am I going to do with that extra money? And that's what Andy did for a while. He was like, I got the 126. It's going to be tax free. That's great and whatever, but I'm making 175. All right, I'm going to put 35 of that towards a house or something like that. So you got to have multiple ways you're going to do to save on that taxable income, because you'll be paid taxes on that 35 if you don't do anything with it.
Absolutely. There's always ways. So always talk to an advisor, financial advisor, sometimes a CPA, but a lot of times they work when like the rear view, right? They're looking at the past. They're not looking at the future to save you money. They just want to file your taxes and that's it. So like I work with my clients with their CPAs, with their estate attorneys, just because I just quarterback everything. That's the way you want to do it. You want to have an advisor that's going to be able to be looking for deductions like how I am. I'm looking to save you money and make you money. So make sure that if you talk to anyone, they're doing the same thing, right? That's very important going forward for all of you, right? Want you to keep as much money as you can, make as much as you can, right? And one thing I want to touch on with the real estate, and I know being overseas, you start to think, all right, I can't manage a property while I'm here, so like that's not for me. I'm telling you, you can. I've done it. Like I've managed up to 4 of my properties while I was overseas in different countries. Obviously, it was easier once I finally was just like, I'm gonna give it a property manager. I'm tired of getting calls at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, so you can do it. But I was going to say the most important thing is to just delegate that work, man. Let your main thing be the main thing. I think that I got away too much by worrying about my, investments, things of that nature. Sometimes when I was playing, because I was managing those properties on myself overseas. But once I finally hired a property manager, everything was smooth. Let them do it and just let them take care of it. But the tax benefits, the capital appreciation, like those are things that real estate can really just help you grow in addition to like your investments and stuff.
Great.
Yeah.
Any other questions? And feel free. I mean, some food's going to be coming in and we're going to be kind of networking, and you can hang around, ask us individually, talk to each other about, stuff that you got going on, your experiences overseas. So as like, especially if there's an NIL guy here, hey, talk to a pro guy and how that works and vice versa and all that. So learn from each other about your experiences and things like that. It's not just, we're not going to be the only ones providing knowledge here too. So
every time I flick the wrist, you can bet that it's a swish. Realtor for hoopers, welcome to the main event.